Those are awesome. Downstairs?
People will be cutting the scratch blocks.
Okay.
We don't want that.
Food.
Yeah, I mean, the figurative arts is great, man. No matter what you do, where you go from here, you know? I mean, even if you teach or you end up doing other stuff. There's faces at it. Anyway, so.
Is there any more up there?
I think that's about it. That's it. I hope we have enough. Is this a good, Ken?
You know what? We don't have.
And if it makes it easier, I can even do 55 or we got a 20. And I stretch for the
This here is Kyle. Hey Kyle, what are you doing?
So right now what I'm doing is that I'm taking all of the hardened excess metal and just chiseling it right off. You know, the old classic hammer and chisel.
Let's show him your stuff.
Can we just shovel the sand in the river?
5,000 pounds of metal at this. We're going to be around 2,000 pounds today, I think, by the time everything's set up. So, because it's Thanksgiving, we have a Thanksgiving dinner laid out here for y'all. So there's turkey over here, and there's some other things over there I don't want into. All else is there. But also because it's the 30th annual pour, we've got a couple of silk screens over here, and you're going to be able to, if you want to screen shirts as a commemorative shirt for the pour, I have shirts for people to use. We've got shirts that we use we had another conference here, and we have some shirts that are left from that conference. But they're brand new, and you can screen the other side if you would like. And you'll have two pours on your shirt. One from 2012 and one from today. So we'll do that later on. We won't do that right now, because once we start with the screen, we don't want the ink to dry out on the screen. So we'll do it after we get done pouring. We'll do it as a sort of production. So this is the logo that we have here.
Nice. Oh, that's sick.
Now there are a few of you who have been involved with me for a long time, some of the original crew, and some of the people that work with me on the performance stuff. And I have some shirts for you. This is some original shirts. So, but everybody else is welcome. I have different sizes. I only have extra large here right now, but there are different sizes. But we'll worry about that a little later. So don't run off until you get your shirt screened. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever done this before. Will help you do it. But they also, once they're done, they have to be heat set. So I have to put them in a dryer or something like that in order for the heat to set the ink before you wash them again. That's it. So, all right. Well, help yourselves. In about a half an hour, I'll come back, and then we'll talk about what's going to go on in terms of the pour itself. All right. Go for it. Go to it and go for it. That you're all here. Some of old friends coming back, old students, old now. Damn! What does that make me?
It's burn, but I still got
Dan and Mike were actually at the first pour here. So they're
Wow.
And we have people from Dan's now in Chicago, Mike's in New York City. We have Canadians, we have Pittsburghians, we have a lot of different Jersey. Well, as they said in the Archie Bunker show a long time ago, nobody wants to live in Jersey, but somebody's got to. We're here to cast iron sculpture, but our primary concern is that everybody remains safe. So in order to be safe, you have to have on the proper safety gear. How many people have ever done this before? So we got a pretty good contingency of people that kind of know what they're doing, some more than others. But those of you who haven't can rely on them. Now, I'm in charge. There'll be I will be sort of floating around making sure everything is okay. There will be people in charge of the furnace. There will be people in charge of the pouring. And those are the people that you listen to in those situations. You don't listen to anybody else yelling advice from the outside, because that just gets confusing. One of the things I discovered many years ago, and I try to practice, but I'm not always good at it, is when somebody doesn't know what to do, yelling at them doesn't make them know what to do. it just makes it worse. It makes them more confused. If they're nervous and confused and they don't know what's going on, just raising my voice and yelling doesn't really help. But I do have a bad voice. So it always.
It's a beautiful voice.
Bad voice. So when I start talking to you, it sounds like I'm yelling at you, but I'm not yelling at you, goddammit! I'm just talking sweetly in the only way I know how. So don't be freaked out, because people will get anxious and voices will be raised, but that doesn't mean anything. Just ignore it. Just think of them as the fools that they are and let it pass. Yeah. So we're going to do, there's what we call rings of fire, in honor of Johnny Cash. But Jesus.
Don't worry, I'll fuck that.
I'm not going to do it.
Hey, cameras, can you let the other people get in? Your tripods are kind of.
Sharp one. Yeah, I don't use none of this chops works. So the first ring of fire is the furnace itself. Now the furnace is going to be, it does two things. It does a lot of things. But the ones that we're concerned with is the metal coming out of the spout, the sparks coming out of the top, the slag coming out of the slag hole. The metal that will be coming out of the tap hole is about 3,000 degrees. Now at 3,000 degrees, you don't get burned, your skin just goes away. It's just gone. Right? And it doesn't hurt right away because it cauterizes all your nerves for a few days until you start to go back and the pain comes in at that point.
Then it hurts.
Then it hurts.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's Katie.
Quite a bit.
Because Katie, but first let me say, in the 30 years we've been doing this, we've had only a couple of injuries. And Katie recently got injured, but not here. Okay? So she had to have a skin graft. So this kind of thing can happen. You must be aware of it. That's why safety gear becomes so very goddamn important, because the safety gear will protect you. Now that's what my models are here for. We have a variety of safety gear, but the first thing you have to have on is good shoes. If you have on canvas shoes or tennis shoes, you can't do this. You can help on a perimeter, but you can't be involved in a pour. You have to have on good leather shoes, so that in case there's metal on the ground or metal spills on your foot, you're not going to have to get a skin graft. Although I don't recommend those anyway. On the top of your shoes, we have these things called spats. You want to pull his pants up there? These cover the top of your shoes and your ankles. And we have all of the safety gear. It hasn't been laid out yet. We have safety gear. We may not have enough for everybody. Some people have their own, but the people who are at the innermost ring must have all this equipment on. The second thing is sometimes it's an apron. He's got spats on us, or chaps on. There you go. And again.
And one more time.
Very nice. He's got a split leg apron. Stand up. Split leg apron. So if you have the spats, then the apron covers your legs. The apron or the spat or the chaps cover your legs. Then you have to have on a jacket. I gotta get a bigger budget to hire models.
You can pay me more?
Hire a different fucking model. And then your most important thing, of course, is your face, your eyes. So you have to have on safety glasses, and you have to have a face shield. You can't have just one or the other. They don't call them eye shields, they call them face shields. The reason they call them face shields is because they don't protect your eyes. So you need to have on safety glasses and a face shield, and you have to have your head covered. Mike's got a hard hat on with face shield. We've got those as well. That's very nice. This is New York, right on this. Look at that, right on this. Just a new fucking New York, right? But you'd have to have on all of this gear, and then gloves. We have new gloves. If you find a pair, we have old gloves. If you have a pair of gloves with a hole in it, you might as well not have gloves on.
Don't
right?
bother.
Sparks will find the hole.
Always.
Yep, always.
Always find the hole, no matter how small it is, they'll find it.
So if you get a pair of gloves out of the container of gloves that we have and they have holes in them, just actually do me a favor and throw them away, because they're no good and they end up back there anyway. The second ring of which is the people with the shovels and the people moving molds and doing that kind of thing. You don't have to be quite as, you need to have everything covered more or less. You might not need being as tight in as these guys. We actually have some coveralls as well, which are really great because they cover everything. And the jacket over there, there's no way to get the iron in with those things. The furnace is getting hot now. It should be a little while yet because it was pretty wet, but not that long. It's pretty hot in the inside. But we have to heat the liner as well as the center of the furnace, or the iron will get cold. Once it's ready, I know many of you know this, but some of you don't, then we put in a charge of iron on top, and then the iron starts to melt. And then once the iron goes down a little bit, then we put a charge of coke on top of that, and a charge of iron, and a charge of coke, and so on throughout the pour. We have a very small pour here today. I think about a ton of metal, 2,000 pounds or so, which for these pours is about half of what we normally do. But that's okay. The furnace makes iron at about 1,000 pounds an hour. So it should be done in fairly short order. Cora Lambert is Professor Alfred. She'll probably be in charge of something here.
Whatever you need me to do, we can help out. And we've got some students here from Alfred as well. Sarah, Lucy,
So
Sam.
the Alfred crews, they do quite a bit of pouring down there, so they're pretty seasoned. We have Buffalo College here.
Oh,
Oh, there he is. This is professor at Buffalo College. And everything else. So if you have any questions, ask me. Don't ask one of these people, Mike, Danny, Zach, these people who have been around. Don't ask somebody that doesn't know the answer, and then between the two of you, you come up with an answer that you think might be right. It doesn't work out always so well. Don't be put off. This is a rough and tumble kind of an operation here. People who are ironmongers are not the most politically correct, dainty people on the face of the earth. So don't be put off by somebody's attitude. Your safety is primary concern to me. I don't care if a single mold gets poured or not. I want everybody to have a safe experience here and have a good time. If you feel something's not safe or you feel uncomfortable, then don't fucking do it, okay? If you feel, if your question is about something being safe or not safe, ask me, okay? Don't ask anybody else. Ask me, because I will see, I'll lie to you, and then you'll feel better. Because I think everything's safe. We will be putting together pouring crews and safety crews and so on. We won't do that right here, right now, but we'll be doing that outside before we get started. I think it's probably going to be, 20 minutes, 30 minutes before we start charging iron? Yeah. And then it's go. As you all know, once we start charging iron, there's no time to do anything else except tend to the pour. Because the furnace will be tapping about every
20 minutes?
Yeah, I was doing it like timekeeper. 15, 20 minutes is normally about what we do. And then sometimes we'll want a little bit more metal, so we'll run it a little, but I don't think we'll be doing that today. It looks like all normal taps. And that's all. That's it. Any questions? Anybody have any questions or concerns? Anybody have any answers? Anybody have any songs that we've been singing? What?
42 is for sure one of the answers we've learned that recently.
42.
42.
God damn, let me write that down. 42.
Oh, it was 52.
What's the plan with the turkey and the soup?
Well, we have actually.
47.
Next question.
Okay. We have two things here which are a little bit out of the ordinary. We have what they call a reaction mold, which is a mold which is meant to create havoc. When you pour the metal in, there's things in it that shouldn't be in there. Like wood, do you have wood in there? What do you?
The entire thing is made out of plywood.
So, for those of you, yeah, go
Metal
ahead.
wanting to spit back out a little bit, so it's one of those. Yeah, you pour a little bit stuff off, pour it back. You know, it should take metal. We have a pour cup and a vent cup. We can pour metal into both ends. Try and get as much metal in there as possible. But it's designed to actually rise like a normal vent. So we may actually see that happening if my engineering is good.
So they can be, these molds can sometimes be fairly benign, but sometimes they can really create a really fountain of fire and brimstone in the air. So when we pour that mold, you must be careful. The other thing that we're doing today is we're pouring a turkey. I mean, we're pouring into a turkey. We have a, my girlfriend Karen said to me, "It's a turkey pour, how come you don't pour turkeys?" So we have a turkey packed in salt as a mold, and we're gonna pour it into its rectum.
Damn near killed him.
At the end of the pour. The idea is that actually we're gonna cook this turkey this way.
Are you gonna eat this?
Just not edible.
And then we're gonna draw straws, a short straw. It's homemade.
Cajun style, so take it back and-
All of a sudden, I'm a vegetarian.
So if I could have, Buffalo State students, I can see. I would like to get all of the safety gear out and laid out now, so people can get dressed and get ready to pour. If there's no more questions, or if there are any questions.
I've noticed that there's some inclusions in some of the molds. Just let the pour team or the pour captain know. For instance, you have iron in your mold. The iron might have collected moisture. It might want to spit. Just letting people know what they're in for, just like the reaction mold, so there aren't too many surprises.
Yeah, here's the thing about one of the things that Paige is just Paige. You can ask her anything; she knows everything. So
I'll lie.
once the metal is in the pot, of course, it's very hot, as I said, and if you put any metal, put it in contact with any metal that has moisture in it, it will cause a pretty serious explosion, right, Daddy?
Yes.
You take your eyeglasses right off your face. can't
It
you?
will. It's happened. My first-hand experience of this.
And if Jay Hooley was here, I'd ask him as well, because he got a whole face full of metal, but it hit his screen, and it was just covered with metal, which
But it didn't hit his face.
no, it hit his
Yep.
face because he had his safety gear on it.
Yep.
And although he did have his skin was very red, and he said he had metal in his mouth, but I don't know what that was all about. That's a very important thing. Molten metal and water don't really mix that well, unless you're more or less.
Yeah.
It can be engineered.
Can be engineered, but that's not our job here today.
No.
The other thing is that those of you on the safety crew, if there's iron, sometimes gets splashed. Iron always gets splashed. That's sometimes bullshit. Iron gets splashed onto the ground. The safety crew, that's his job is to sort of. Everybody thinks you want to bury it in the sand, but that's really not what you want to do. Depending on how much iron there is, you just want to kind of take your shovel and get it off the cement, so it doesn't pop the cement, and get it onto some other sand. If you need to throw a little sand on, fine. If somebody has iron on their shoe or is standing on hot iron, they don't notice it until it's too late. So tell them there's iron on your shoe.
Or you're on fire.
You're on fire. Yeah, that's always helpful too.
Also happens.
All of us up here probably have been on fire at some point.
Oh, sure. I've been on molten or on fire.
Oh, yeah. We were pouring a really tall mold. Josh was on one side, I was on the other side. Some iron spilled over the side. It started burning his ladder. He got real nervous about it. I told him to shut up and keep pouring.
True story.
True story, absolutely. You know, Jay Hooley's mold.
Yep. We got it.
We got it. And you,
Yeah, and I got that
Photographic
right.
evidence.
you know, I've actually had a train of thought going, which I've sort of lost at this point. The other thing about when you're on a shovel on a safety crew, don't ever, you know, that's like 6 evers and then some more. Take your shovel full of sand over the top of the molds. Don't ever throw sand towards the mold, towards the ground, around the molds, because if you get sand in a cup, it will screw up the person's casting. So we want to avoid that.
Don't swat with the shovel.
This is not a war.
Well, no, people will swat like a leaking mold with the shovel and splash it.
Yeah.
instead of just-
The other thing too is sometimes when a mold is being poured, so a lot of these are wax burnouts, maybe some. What happens when you burn wax in a sand mold? It doesn't go away; it goes into the sand. So they'll start to flare and spit and create a little bit of flame. And the person that's pouring sometimes needs to be protected from that. So you need to hold your shovel in front of where their hands might be, or in some way protect them. Just don't put it in front of their face where they can't see what's going on. But that's what the sort of the job of the safety crew. I think we've got all of the charges laid out, so there's not really any sort of toting and carrying around that has to be done. All the molds will be in place. So because it's a small pour, we won't have any. A lot of times we'll have to pull molds out, put more in, but we're not going to have to do that on this pour. I don't know if the is Turner here? We gotta get the furnace, tell them that the shells are get done. So we need to get the shells and done. We gotta get Gina's into that later real quick. We'll just do the tongs and put one in there and see what happens. Sure. And okay. So that's it. Find safety gear.
So folks, here for my first interview here at the Iron Pour. I got here the director of the Fine Arts Department. This is Ken. I call him Head Director. Oh, sculpture? Is that so? So now tell me, Head Director, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for probably 45 years.
Wow, that's incredible. You must have a lot of experience with stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's good.
I remember hearing in your safety talk just a moment ago, like how so much goes into this. Like so many people would think that it is so straightforward and all that. But it really must be that intricate, huh?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of components that you have to stitch together in a kind of choreography so that it remains safe and productive.
So, have you done any iron pours at any other places besides Buff State?
I've done iron pours all over the world.
Really?
Israel, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, England, Ireland, so on. A lot of different places, and all over the country as well.
That is incredible. Folks, I hope you're hearing that. That's a big list right there. Now, I understand, so you said, this is a light load this time, only 2,000 pounds. That's only a ton. Did you say, that's a half of what you usually do?
Well, we'll usually pour anywhere from 3,000 pounds to 7,000 pounds of iron during the, it's all right, just go right for it.
Sorry about those little video bombs there.
So usually, I would say we average about 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of iron.
Wow, and up to 7,000 pounds. You said that's about 1,000 pounds an hour?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, go ahead.
Go ahead, you won't be the first one. Come on through.
Hi. Another video bomb there. So, because I remember you saying about the different rings. Now, if you had to compare this, because Buffalo, as you see by the picture, used to be a big steel city. Would you say this is very similar to that?
Yes, it's the same process on a smaller scale. At one time, Buffalo was the largest producer of steel. And actually, you have to make iron before you make steel. So it was the largest iron producer in the world, back and forth vying with some cities in Germany. Now we are the only foundry, steel foundry left in Buffalo is us.
Right, because I remember there's Tonawanda Coke up there in Tonawanda. And it's funny because a lot of them say how the process is so filthy. Well, unfortunately, reading the facts and all that, there really isn't any other way to necessarily make Coke for productions that way.
No, there's not. And Tonawanda Coke's been very good to us over the years, even though they've caused some havoc in the community. But there are some operations, some large-scale operations, which are using gas-fired furnaces, which I guess is a little better.
That's interesting. Because I remember showing in the footage out there, like just how the furnace is roaring. Now, what was that thing that you put on the little hole on the front?
That's the twir cover. Twirs are where the air goes into the furnace to create the heat, and to superheat the coke. But we have to be able to make sure those openings can be cleaned out so they don't get clogged. So we have these covers on that we can take off and clean out the openings. We call them twir covers.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting how you said in the safety talks with the layering, with the iron and then the coke and then the iron and the coke. It's an interesting process. Like, many would think it would be like so straightforward, but it actually shows how many layers there are for like every bit of the operation here.
Yeah. A 50-pound coke charges and 70-pound iron charge, other way around. 50-pound iron charges and 7-pound coke charges every time you add a charge in the furnace. And we tap out about 300 pounds or 400 pounds, up to 500 pounds at a time.
Wow. I know, because everybody's got to get going with the operation, but Head Director, thank you so much for doing the interview.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
And let's get going with a good iron pour, folks.
All right, take care.
Keep watching. Now here for my second interview, everybody, we got somebody who's from international affairs here. This is PJ, he's from the Netherlands. I gotta say, it's an honor to meet a sculptor from another country here. PJ, I heard you are currently living in Utica, correct?
Yes, there's an artist in residence. It's called Sculpture Space. I am there for 2 months, and one of the other residents, Gina, she knows this place. She did her thesis here, and she heard about the poor, and she asked me to join her. And also because 2 days ago I installed my sculpture at River Sculpture Park.
Oh, congratulations! So now, PJ, I'm curious to ask, coming here and seeing this, what is your view on it? Like, do you want to get anything out of it specifically?
Well, first of all, I've never been to an iron pour, and that's very interesting to learn what the whole process is. And what surprised me is that at this school, Art Academy, I mean, you have a different system about art education than in Europe. But you have such facilities like this foundry, like all this stuff. I mean, even at I think most art academies in Holland, they don't have that.
That is true, because Buffalo, back in the day, like you go back like say 60, 70 years or so, and it was at the front lines of the steel making industry here. Back then, 2 of the biggest cities in America were Buffalo, which is us, and Pittsburgh, which is why they called it the Iron City. But it even surprised me how they actually came up with a makeshift furnace here. Like, that just shows the preservation of the history here. But, of course, I've been to Europe before. I've been to it once, and I hadn't gotten the chance to go to Holland. But for any of the Dutch viewers out there, is there anything you'd like to say to them about coming here in America?
Well, America doesn't exist like one country. It's of course, in Europe, you only hear what's happening with your government or those people that's supposed to be your government. So there are more Americas. And take your time to discover them, because the America I like are the generous people, friendly, always inviting, and they are a little bit curious, and sometimes they are a bit shy of the rest of the world, what's happening there, but it is a fantastic country to be in, but it's a bit too divided at this moment. But it happens also in other countries, it's not only here. But you're bigger, so it's much more well known.
Now, for any of the American viewers, would you like to say anything about your home country of the Netherlands?
It's always good to be in another culture, and for you it's not that difficult because most people speak English, so you can easily go around. It's not a very big country; it's very small, size-wise, and but there's a lot to discover concerning how we live, how we do things, and not only the culture, not only the famous museums, But yeah, we do things different.
Yes, as the Dutch have their famous painter Rembrandt.
Yeah, but that's 400 years ago. We had other ones after him.
That's true.
Van Gogh you had, which you say Van Gogh. We had Mondrian. We have many more.
So now I just want to say, for any of the Dutch viewers, would you care to say anything to them in Dutch?
Ja, het is hier heel apart om op deze kunstacademie te zijn. Het is kunstacademie onderwijs is heel anders. Het is hier ze doen hier een ijzergieterij. Vanwege het feit dat Thanksgiving is over een paar dagen. Een feest dat wij niet kennen in Nederland. En dan hebben ze dus eerst hier een turkey dinner, een kalkoen diner. Iedereen brengt wat. Dus dat is zeg maar het potluck idee, dus iedereen brengt wat. Ja, en ja, het is gewoon best wel leuk om op een andere universiteit, kunstacademie even te zijn. En ja, zoals deze interview ook laat zien, zijn ze erg enthousiast om met anderen kennis te maken.
Thank you very much, PJ. Well, thank you very much for this interview. I do hope you enjoy your time here in Western New York.
I do. Okay.
Everybody, let's get on with the iron pour, shall we? And here's for probably the best interview of the day, folks. This is my professor. This is my fine arts professor. And everybody, for the Mighty Jingles community and the Honest Gaming community out there, hey everybody, it's Dave.
Hello.
So now, Professor, how long have you been doing this?
Sculpture.
Basically like everything with this program, would you say?
I've been sculpting since 1975.
Gesundheit.
Yes.
So now, what would you say is probably like your best part of the fine arts education program here? What's your favorite?
The figure modeling that I teach.
You know, it's actually kind of funny because he actually has an apron that he actually wore for class that I got a picture of the statue of David. If anybody hasn't heard of that, make sure to look that up. I'm not going to give the details of that one. You can find out for yourself. So now, Professor, how long have you been actually doing the iron pour here?
I've been doing the iron pour since early 90s. Not every year. I was at UB for 10 years.
Oh really? Do they have an iron pour there?
No, but they pour bronze and aluminum, but they don't do it iron.
Yes.
We do iron because Ken Payne is one of the preeminent iron casters in North America.
I just do remember, we're doing the little pendants today, aren't we?
No.
Oh, we're not?
I haven't done the mold for that yet.
Okay.
But we will.
Yeah, at least we'll be getting the iron
that's
now.
Gonna be done. Those little pendants, charms, those are going to be in bronze.
Yeah, so
Which is a different.
Yeah, that's going to be different. Would you say bronze is melted at a higher or lower temperature
Lower
than steel?
temperature, it melts at 1850. We pour it at 2150. Iron, I think Mr. Payne might have told you. I think it's 2650. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I believe I did hear that. Now, I gotta say, Professor, what would you say, like, is probably your favorite part of doing the iron pour? Because I know, like, how Head Director said, like, it's at Thanksgiving and it's...
I enjoy hanging out where we do the scratch blocks, which are small relief castings, and people scratch in a design and we pour it, and then you get it's called an open face pour. There's no sprues or no cup. We just pour right in. You end up getting a piece that's a thin sliver of iron with your design on the back. We have to do it in reverse because it's kind of like printing. And on the top, instead of being perfectly flat, which you would get if you had a two-piece mold. Now I'm getting technical here, but like...
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
You have a meniscus on each side. It's like water. You know, you have, instead of water going like this, now you have it goes like this on top.
Right, because I remember you saying, in case anybody knows, as I said with the scratch blocks, what you saw in the footage earlier is that if you're going to do a picture, that's perfectly fine, but if you're going to do something with writing on it, like he said, you have to do it actually in reverse. And one of the scratch blocks that you actually did see that I did is entirely in reverse, because as a logo, object, and the writing as well. I did two of them. I wasn't going to show you the second one, but yeah, the things that you could come up with all this, because I know we start with the plasticine clay. Oh my god, how bad that stuff smelled, remember that.
Sulfur.
Yeah, and then of course it was the wax, which you had to do after that. Of course, that wasn't as bad, but you had to be careful that you didn't burn yourself.
Yeah, two people got burned.
I know I kind of burned a little bit, but not that much. It catches you off guard if you're not paying attention.
And it's sticky.
Yes, that it is with wax. because you gotta melt it first. But so what would you say you'd like to say to anybody who would like to join the fine arts program here at Buff State?
Well, if you're interested in technique-oriented art that takes that you have to learn technique, and we do the figure is in the forefront in our program here. I would say that would be maybe more traditional as well. I mean, there's lots of where we encompass any kind of philosophy, but I'd say more than some schools around in the area, we have the accent on traditional technique.
And for anybody who wishes to join this program, just remember, you will be buying a lot of stuff for doing your projects here. Just remember that. You'll be buying clay, clear silicone, but you'll learn about all this once you come here. And believe me, Dave here is a perfect specimen of a fine professor of fine arts. So is there anything you'd like to say before we close up, Professor?
Stephen, you are one of my favorite students. And here's the $5 that I owe you. We have fun. This guy makes class fun, believe me.
Oh, trust me. Wait until you get it started with Big E. In case you're wondering, that's my classmate Evan, as you probably see in the footage earlier. But hey, it's a fun course, and if you guys really want to try something that's really interactive, the Fine Arts Department is a valuable asset here. You get a chance to get hands-on. It's not just like with wood shop or anything. It's like you have to work with clay, wax, sand, and all that type of stuff. And again, Dave, thanks for the incredible interview.
I hear someone calling me in there. Okay.
Yep.
Stephen.
And everybody, let's get on with the pour.
Yeah, I know. Where did it go?
Get out. All right. I didn't see a scammer come with it. You need a.
They put a turkey in that.
play most of our games Yeah, come here. Come here. Come on, go around the other side, dude. Go around the other side. Thank you.
Drink champagne, kings and queens, politicians praise my name. For the foes of someone else's dreams, pitfalls of man I
turkey.
Want me to get us like a serving platter?
Yeah. Get some parsley put on the side.
Yeah. It did. But it didn't really stay. You know?
Yeah.
The last time I had metal in that area of myself, I
Put that with it.
Yeah.
turkey didn't really have I don't blame the turkey.
And folks, a little bit of steel cooked turkey. They poured molten steel in this to cook it. Let's take a bite. That's not bad. Salty, but not bad. A toast to a good end of the day. Happy steel pouring, Buff State.